You might remember Greg Roman, who is now the offensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh in LA with the Chargers. And Greg is in year one. He took a year off after being let go, or as the Ravens put it, he wanted to pursue other opportunities after the 2022 season. Of course, the Ravens went in a direction where they plucked the back-to-back national champion winning offensive coordinator at Georgia, Todd Monken, to be their next OC. Year one, it's an MVP, MV2, if you will, for Lamar Jackson. Year two, who knows? MV3 could be on deck. I know Josh Allen certainly will have something to say about that. You know, before I share what Lamar had to say about his time with Greg, I want to make sure to be abundantly clear here. Greg accomplished a lot in Baltimore, okay? He gets a bad rap within the fan base because of the way in which it ended. And I'll also be clear on that. Lamar outgrew his offensive scheme. And from an organizational standpoint, they did not invest in the wide receiver position aside from the draft throughout Greg's time as the play caller for Lamar. They were consistently in the bottom corridor of the league when it comes to wide receiver impact, wide receiver yards, so on and so forth. And so what did Greg do? Greg does what he's always done as a play caller. He dominated on the ground. It was a sophisticated run scheme that he ran with major pulling efforts up and down the offensive line, mobile linemen up front, a quarterback that took the entire league by storm in 2019, which of course led to a historic season. In 2019, they were first in points, second in yards. In 2020, seventh in points, 19th in yards. 2021, 17th in points, 6th in yards. And 2022, 19th in points, 16th in overall yards. It's notable that the 2021 seasons and the 2022 season, the 2021 and the 2022 seasons down the stretch, he did not have Lamar Jackson under center for him. Okay, the Ravens had a 39-15 record with Greg. He was named AP Assistant Coach of the Year after the 2019 campaign. And of course, Lamar went on to be just the second unanimous MVP in league history. It was an early exit, of course, in 2019 in the divisional round after the bye to Tennessee. They came out flat. It was a brutal game. They then lose to the Buffalo Bills the following year. Okay, so, Greg accomplished a lot. They didn't get to where they wanted to be. And clearly, it wasn't a sophisticated enough passing offense. It was holding Lamar back, right, from what we now know, and a lot of us knew then, what many of us already know now, or just know now in general, what Bobby Petrino knew at Louisville during Lamar's Heisman campaign, that Lamar is capable of being a full-fledged pass-first quarterback, right? Somebody who can dice you up through the air, somebody who can throw outside the numbers, somebody who can always kill you across the middle with Mark Andrews, right? Somebody who can hit check downs accordingly, somebody that can diagnostics, right? Heavily focused on diagnostics at the line of scrimmage, reading defenses, cover zero blitz, having an answer. He's shown all of that under Todd Monken, and we didn't have a chance to see that consistently under Greg Roman. And so I think that's a fair way of putting it. While they accomplished a lot, ultimately, Lamar was ready for the next step, and Todd Monken empowered him. John Harbaugh brought in Monken, and Monken has taken Lamar to the next step over the last year plus and change. As for Lamar's perspective, he really hasn't talked about it very much at all in terms of his time with Greg Roman. That changed today. It was a brief moment. And don't hold your breath right off the top of this answer. It was a deafening silence after this question was asked. Lamar gathered his thoughts and had this to say as a result.
How do you kind of look back at your time with Giro?
It was good. I mean, we had a lot of success. Won my first MVP with Giro system. We had a lot of great seasons. I believe it was just short. It was just short, that's all.
All right, so Lamar, again, at the top there, My Lord, was that a deafening silence there. A couple seconds, long pause, catches himself, gathers his thoughts, processes the question, and says it was good. We had a lot of success. I won my first MVP with G-Row's system. We had a lot of great seasons. I believe it was short. And it was short. It was just a few years. But again, they accomplished quite a bit. I mean, Lamar broke the single season rushing record for quarterbacks in his first full season as a starter. This team took the league by storm in 2019. Big Truz was the thing. Mark Ingram burst onto the scene. You had the best tight end room in the entire league, right, with Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle. Lamar was doing his thing. You had a defense that was flying around. The Ravens as a team had over 3,200 rushing yards, which broke the Patriots mark for most rushing yards in a season. That record had stood for 41 years. Okay. The Ravens also ran for 100 yards in 43 straight games throughout G-Row's years. That tied the Steelers in the 1970s for the most in league history. The Ravens actually were flirting with that number and that streak just a short while ago that ended up, when did that, I can't remember when that streak was snapped, but it was within the last few weeks or so. And so, yeah, there was a lot to like. But at the end of the day, I think there was a universal agreement. There was a universal understanding that Lamar wanted more. Lamar could do more. And that's exactly what he ended up doing and has continued to do since G-Row walked, took a year off, landed with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. Todd Monken comes in and unlocks what we all knew was there for Lamar Jackson the entire time. And I've already ripped off all those different intangibles. And it's been so fun to watch. There's just no way, aside from Pittsburgh and Kansas City, to consistently beat Lamar Jackson. He's proven that through 6+ years. And yeah, he's still got more to achieve. 1-4 against Pittsburgh, 3-9 combined against Kansas City and Pittsburgh. And of course, he wants to do more in the postseason. He has to do more in the postseason. But one thing about it is that Lamar is on the up and up. He is trending in the right direction. His game has continued to improve and enhance and become more and more sophisticated, particularly when it comes to his ability as a passer. And now he's got a chance to quickly turn the story, flip the narrative coming up on Monday night, where he has been so dominant in primetime games throughout his career. One statistic that I will be using tomorrow, spoiler alert, when we do our game preview episode. Throughout his career, Lamar is 17-4 coming off a loss. I think that's 18-4 after Monday night if I'm a betting man. One of Lamar's targets, Diontae Johnson, who of course was brought in prior to the deadline. Sarah and I spoke about this briefly on our lunch hour live stream earlier today, is Diontae Johnson. And as Ken wrote, he has had a rough first 3 games with the Ravens. He's totaled just 33 snaps, 4 targets, 1 reception for 6 yards. As Ken also notes, he does remain insurance for, knock on wood, an injury to Zay and or Rashad. But Nelson with 74 snaps, Tylen with 41, have both played more in the last 3 games. It's interesting because since Diontae's gotten here, he's had 2 emotional tweets, one of which he deleted. The other is this, which came in yesterday. Diontae wrote, "When we are battle tested, we must look nowhere but at the man in the mirror. We got to work on us, the individual. When the situations get tough, we got to evaluate ourselves and challenge ourselves to be better. Damn the outside noise," with a 100 emoji. Diontae is a guy who has had a tumultuous year. Diontae, of course, began his career in Pittsburgh, went to Carolina in the offseason, and that place, obviously, if you're looking to compete, is not somewhere you want to be right now. And so he got a glow up and basically came to the Ravens for nothing. If you're the Ravens, why wouldn't you take that opportunity to bring in somebody who gives you depth, gives you AFC North experience, and all of that? The question prior to the deadline, though, was given the amount of mouths that Todd Monken and company have to feed offensively speaking, and given the success that they're continuing to get, the consistency from the complementary duo that is Zay and Rashad, on top of the tight ends, on top of the running backs, well, where does Diontae fit into the puzzle? And as Dan Graziano of ESPN.com recently wrote, the Ravens considered Diontae too good of a player to pass up at the price that Carolina was asking, and he offered them a chance to use more 3-receiver sets than they usually do, should they want to go that route. But that's not really the way their offense is set up, and unless the Ravens are planning a major midseason scheme change, Johnson might just be a veteran insurance policy in case something happens to top wideout Zay Flowers. I think we should all temper expectations in terms of what Diontae will or can bring to this team throughout the course of the second half stretch of this season. They went to him early, Lamar did, on that opening drive in Pittsburgh. He sailed that ball out of bounds, and Diontae ran out of real estate. But again, it's been a small sample size for Diontae. I know there's been a lot of questions about his usage, what their vision is for him. The beauty of it is, and this has certainly not been the case in recent years, they're not living and dying by Diontae Johnson. He is insurance. He is depth. And he will be used probably sparingly and in emergency case situations only. And that is a nice luxury that the Ravens decided to go and invest in prior to the deadline earlier this month.